Welcome back, Mr. Goodberry. The First Star Logistics studio is fully equipped and ready to record.
Welcome back to Bengals on the Brain, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Joe Goodberry. Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator search continues, and we finally have an update and news, which means it's time to dive into a couple of these candidates. As Bengals Talk, Sports Illustrated website, has a report that the Bengals are down to 2 candidates. And that means we got to wait a little bit because one of them is coaching Notre Dame in the national championship game. So that gives us something to watch this weekend or Monday, I guess. So by the time we get to Tuesday's episode, it'll be wrapped up. And Patrick Graham, who they brought in, one of the original guys they brought in. I didn't say Al Golden, did I? Notre Dame defense coordinator Al Golden was in my head, didn't come out of my mouth. And Patrick Graham, who was the defensive coordinator of the Las Vegas Raiders, one of the first guys they brought in. In my opinion, 2 guys very similar. We'll go through both. We'll start with Patrick Graham, who was a New England disciple, Bill Belichick tree, has a lot of connections there. Went to the New York Giants, coached for the Raiders. Neither team, Giants, Raiders, had a lot of defensive talent, and yet I still felt like they had good defensive production. What is he known for? Similar to the Patriot style, being very multiple, not really being married to one defensive scheme or front look 3-4-4-3, which we spent a lot of time talking about this year on Bengals on the Brain film reviews, saying what are the Bengals? They're really a multiple defense. Well, Patrick Graham is a multiple defensive coordinator, showing 3-4-4-3 looks, 5-2, 4-2 nickel stuff, 3-3-5 even. All that is to say is he can call whatever the defense needs to be. Seems very moldable in that way. I would say the same about Al Golden, and we will when we get there. I just want to be clear on that. They're similar in a lot of ways because what I'm going to say for Patrick Graham will also apply for Golden later. But for Graham especially, I think we're going to watch film here. I got like 3 minutes of cut up of some specific plays that I thought were common when I watched everything I could on him. Number one, I feel like he gets a lot of quarterback disruption by attacking the line of scrimmage, winning the trenches, playing an aggressive downhill style defense. All of these things, buzzwordy, but things that I want the Bengals defense to be, right? We want them to attack downhill and be a good tackling team. We want them to be an aggressive, set the tone on defense a little bit instead of just hanging back. A lot of times with Lou Anarumo, they just hung back and only dictated on third down in advantageous situations for the defense, maybe third and long. They're really good at that, it felt like, even though they gave up a ton in our memory. That's where Lou was at his best because he could pull the right levers. Patrick Graham, I feel, can do those things too, but I feel like his specialty is we're going to control the line of scrimmage. We're going to send numbers at you, so blitz you and show a lot of simulated pressures and creepers and not really blitz all the time or bring it from one direction if they're showing from this side. And to me, that's today's defense. I do believe in the bend but don't break method that Lou and a lot of defenses have, and that the Bengals did have over the last 5 years. But I also believe there are times to dictate to the offense, and there are times to push and go for it and attack. And if that means you get beat a little bit, you know what? So what? At least you're trying, at least you're attempting something, at least you're trying to create positive splash plays for the defense. And I think that's what Patrick Graham's defense did. Because look at the Raiders and look at their defensive talent. Other than Max Crosby, not a lot of guys. There's guys I like, but one stud, and they had really good communication on the back half. Not a lot of talent in the secondary. A lot of communication, good coverages, not a lot of confusing stuff on the back half, but a lot on the front 7, front 6 in today's world. And that's going to lead me to one more topic before we watch the film on Graham, because it applies to both of these guys we're going to talk about, and we'll probably jump right into Al Golden after Graham. But there was a lot of talk about Lou Anarumo and simplifying his scheme. We had comments on this on the last Bengals on the Brain episode, and I tried to clarify it, but I thought I should talk it through a little bit. His scheme was complex in different ways than someone else's scheme may be complex, and I'll explain. because I'm going to say Graham's can be complex, and I'll say Golden's can be complex as well. Different from Lou's, because Lou's would often be confusing, I think, for quarterbacks, but also for your own defensive players. Because from what I've heard, and the story started when he first got here in Cincinnati, Lou didn't always have answers, always didn't have the right checks, didn't have the right rules for what he wanted to do on defense. And it wasn't very clear and concise for the players. So, and you'll see in the film here, when a shift happens, a motion happens, an offense does something on the fly or does something pre-snap that you're not expecting, you have to have rules in place for if they do this, we do this. If they shift to this, if they motion to this, if they snap it while this guy's at this spot on the field, we will shift to this. That's your guy. This is my guy. This is his guy. And everything's clear and concise. The Bengals struggled with that because it's not that the players are stupid. It's that the rules weren't clearly defined for every scenario that they were seeing. And because of that, when it worked and when they pulled it off, when you had Von Bell and Jesse Bates, when you had Al Golden on the staff as well, when it worked really well at confusing the opponent. When it wasn't as clear, your defense is getting gashed and giving up big plays. And remember Dex Hill and Nick Scott, and they led the league in explosive defensive plays while they were at safety. A lot of that is because the communication was not clear. It's why we heard so much about communication for so long. So while I'm going to say that El Golden's defense is complex, and people are going to say, well, that's not good. Didn't we have to simplify it for our own players? You can do both. You can simplify it by giving them the answers and make it complex on the opponent. And that's where we'll start with Patrick Graham and a few of these plays here that I think will show you what he brings to the table. All right, first play here, I want to show you the linebackers, and they do a really good job of disguising who's coming and who's not coming. And if you watch, just focus on these two, as we're going to bring pressure. Because if you could look down here too, you could even wonder, all right, is this guy coming? So with the Graham defense, I felt like they disguised it really well and then still attacked with those guys. So as you see here, we're going to drop back into just a man-free situation, which is a cover one, middle of the field. Common, simple, nothing crazy about it, right? We got man coverage, man coverage, man coverage here, man coverage here. Even though there's separation between those last two that I pointed out, the idea is to get the quarterback off his spot, get him comfortable, and realize he needs to make a quick decision. So easy stuff for the back half, but complex in the front half is what I was saying with Patrick Graham. So as I let this roll a little bit, we'll get it from the other angle, and you can see what's happening as they move the quarterback from his spot, and it results in an interception. Whenever you move the quarterback, which should be the goal of any high-level defense, you're changing the timing, you're changing the location, the vision, everything from the passing game for the QB. And that's the idea, right? So as we watch this here, you're going to see the one linebacker here. First, the way I started it was he's leaning forward at the snap, really trying to get your attention that I'm coming this way, I'm coming this way. If you can start, if they end up sliding everyone and picking up this way, well, what happens on the left side here is it's actually this linebacker that's coming. And so as we press play here and continue it coming, here's the linebacker. What they're really trying to do is now get a free rusher on the left side, but the running back does a good job. Look at him coming over already. He's going to come pick up this guy. He's not actually. Watch as the play goes. But we're going to loop the other linebacker around as well. So we're crushing that running back. The pockets should be right here. The pocket is collapsing, but we get a free, 8-yard run, if not, 7, 8-yard run at that running back. Not many running backs are going to pick that up. And if he does, number 5 here is the next guy that's going to come through and pressure the quarterback. So the idea is to move him from his spot where he's comfortable, get him away, change the angle, change the timing, change the throwing on the run, everything about it, which leads to the interception at the end there. I want you to focus on the communication and how it can be complex for both sides right there. You've got so many guys at the line of scrimmage on the defensive side that the quarterback's kind of got to wait and see what's going on. And now you got the communication through the front. Everyone seems to be aware and on the same page as they're talking and pointing. And then we're showing blitz again with that middle linebacker up the middle and just deliberately showing it because we want to get your attention on it. And then as we get the quarterback to the top of the drop, we've got a single high safety again, with man coverage. Again, sticky man coverage, right? Like everyone's pretty close here. That's probably the most open guy here. We're sticky here. He's going to drive down on the check down. But what really is the objective is, again, to get the quarterback to bail the pocket. And we do. Now we've got bad quarterbacks, we've got rookies, we've got backups here, but it's the idea is still the same. Get the quarterback to leave the pocket, get him to feel rushed, get him to field pressure, stress the front, stress the O-line, send a fourth or fifth guy, but also do a little bit of stunts and twists. So Robert Spillane, number 41, he's showing his blitz, showing it. He wants to get your attention on the offensive line, but really we're bringing Max Crosby around on the other side. Our best player, can we get him freed up? Can we crush the middle of this pocket? Can we collapse it on the quarterback? And we do. We see the center, I think, maybe the guard, falling. Everything is collapsing on him. The quarterback does a good job of getting out of the pocket, but with sticky man coverage all across, we'll take that. We'll take the low percentage throw on the quarterback moving, throwing on the run, unless it's Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Most of these guys, their accuracy is going to dip while on the run. But hey, here's Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes, I should have said, of course. Well, here's Josh Allen. Disregard the guy that was highlighted here. This is from an NFL Films clip, I believe I pulled this from. But we are going to have man coverage across again here with a single high safety at the top. But again, what are we doing? We're sending our linebackers. We're sending these guys. We're blitzing them. We're going to cause some confusion. We're going to cause some urgency at the quarterback position. So again, single high safety, a lot of man coverage across. We do have a guy that's breaking free here. So that's talent. That's nothing you can really control. Everyone else is sticky and knowing what's happening here. If we stay sticky for those first 2.5 seconds, we can get this quarterback to throw the ball or move and then throw the ball. We've got good odds here of making a play. So I'll let it roll here and you'll see what I'm saying. Guy's open, but when you get the quarterback to move from his launch point, get him on the run, which is what we're going to happen. We're showing the same look again. We've already seen it. One linebacker is going to come, and then we're going to loop around the other linebacker. And you'll even see on the defensive line, too. I want to highlight this. This is complementary football. We're going to have this defensive tackle shoot inside so that the linebacker can come around. So we're going to take this guy, take that guy, and it should be an open gap right there for the linebacker that's looping around Spillane, number 41. So here we are. As Allen looks that way, he's got to get out of there right away. He's got one chance for a look and then go and run and make a throw on the run. And even furthermore, athletic quarterbacks with strong arms that should be able to do this, it's a difficult throw. So now, communication again. Are these guys clear on it? Are they concise on what they're supposed to be doing? You see the communication already. Everyone's shifting. The two safeties are shifting. This is right after Deshaun Watson and the Browns do a check on third down. And the Raiders completely bail out of what they had, drop into two safeties, and feel very confident in what they're doing as everyone's sitting around. We've got one. To me, I thought was going to be a cover 2, but since there's no targets over here, keep an eye on this safety. He's just going to basically end up running with Watson and then coming up and making the play and making the stop on third down. But idea here is that we're making the quarterback uncomfortable, not just this time with the blitz up front, but with the check at the line, the players clearly understanding what the defense is doing, how the offense is attacking them, and how we adjust in this situation. Something the Bengals have struggled with, right? That's how I led this off, with being complex for them and not so much for you by having clear and concise rules. So here we are. Watson gets to the top of his drop, and he wants to, again, let's move the pocket and let's get the quarterback a little bit more uncomfortable. Watson's going to drift this way because I think he's got an easy out route, or at least he thinks he's got an easy out route, and he can just hit this. But the coverage is there. It's sticky coverage again. And when he gets to the top of this, it's not there. So he's off his mark. Now he's thinking, all right, where do I go with this? Maybe I can just run. It's man coverage, but we're on it. Guys are flowing to the ball. Safeties makes the play. Fourth down. So while I would be okay with Patrick Graham as the hire for defensive coordinator, he's gotten a lot out of the Raiders defense. I mean, ranking 13th, 14th, 15th in most of the major categories, a top 16 defense, really all we could ask for or should expect. That should be the bottom line expectation. And if we get that, this team would be in the playoffs, right? That's what I'm trying to say with that. So Graham would be fine with me. I think he has enough experience in the NFL. He could assemble a staff around him and get this team where it needs to be. But I think the favorite, and I think my favorite of the final two, if the report is true, which we have no reason to doubt, Notre Dame's defensive coordinator, Al Golden, who we know because he was the Bengals linebackers coach for 2 years, the Super Bowl year. That's a good thing. And he got the job right afterwards. And he was a former head coach, Temple, Miami, before being fired from Miami and then needing to rejuvenate himself and refine himself. He went to the NFL, was an assistant with the Detroit Lions before joining the Bengals and Zach Taylor and getting the defense to where they needed to be with the under Lou Anarumo and some of our best years, to be honest with you. 2021, I remember hearing a lot about L. Golden and getting Logan Wilson and getting Jermaine Pratt to take the next step in their games. Again, those are good things. And this year, at the last 2 years, really, but this year, major focus on Notre Dame. And there's been people calling him the best defensive coordinator in college football. Those are good things you want to hear. You see Notre Dame's defense, how well they're playing, how prepared they look, how seamless their communication is, how multiple they are too. So that's similar to Graham, similar to Lou. Multiple front. They can do anything up front. Great communication. Very complex defense in terms of um, assignment preparedness. Same way I talked about Graham. The players are communicating and knowing what they're doing. Very different to what the Bengals defense did. You'll see with Golden, a lot of these plays I'm going to highlight, they're going to be single high man coverage again. But the leverage is what's key. The positioning of the defenders, the passing off defenders, the jumping what they expect to be the hot route, or jumping what they expect to be the if it's not the one, then the 2 or 3, go and hit it. You'll see these players are performing at a high level. And I don't think Notre Dame, very similar to how I talked about Graham with the Raiders defense, I don't think Notre Dame's got a tremendous prospect that's going to be a top 15 pick in the draft, right? They're not banking on that. They're not just leaning on one excellent player. They got a few guys. They got a corner, a safety, a defensive tackle, all guys that you like, maybe in a D end and, coming up. But I've just started watching the film. So one of the safeties here is one of the guys I was interested in. But with Al Golden, you get a familiarity with the Bengals, so he knows how the operation runs there. You have familiarity with college players, could help in the draft and a draft that where they may need to go get some defensive prospects, right? And then you get a guy who emphasizes ball production, turnovers, tackling. I watched some Notre Dame. They're covered so well that you can find videos on anything, but you see them working on tackling, working on knocking the ball out, working on being aware of where the ball is and where it's supposed to go. And everyone on the defense is bought in and is communicating and working on these things. So again, I have film for this and I want to break it down, but I think Al Golden would be a good hire. When gives us a reason for the non-Ohio State fans that are Bengals fans, which is a big crossover there. If you weren't going to watch the national championship, maybe this is a reason to watch it and see what Notre Dame does against, in my opinion, Ohio State, much more talent on their offense than Notre Dame has on their defense. So if they can keep it close or actually pull that out, a credit to Al Golden and his staff, but also watch on third downs and watch what they do. And a lot of these plays I pulled up today are third downs and third down calls and ball production type plays where you can see the emphasis on either knocking it out, playing the ball, or getting inside for an interception, which big plays when you have a high potent Bengals offense, high powered Bengals offense, getting turnovers would be huge. You don't have to be a great defense. You need to get the ball back to the offense. Here's Al Golden and the Notre Dame defense. Notre Dame versus Miami here. First thing I wanted to circle was this boundary corner as he's communicating. He sees the motion as it's happening, right? So we're bringing this guy across. He's going to rotate to the safety spot, and they're going to bring the safety down to cover that receiver. So again, like that's a simple thing, simple rule. You see how quickly they're communicating it as soon as they see it, maybe even before the motion even happens. But being able to be that variable in the back half, I mean, like Dax Hill would be great at that, wouldn't he? Mike Hilton would be great at that. But I want to point out really quickly as well, as these guys are kind of bunched up and we're going to bring another receiver down, it can get very heavy traffic for defensive backs. And we've got 3 guys here that need to be aware. So they're almost stacked on top of each other. And depending on how the releases go for these receivers, they're going to try and confuse you and tie you up. You have to switch between all this and be clear before it even happens how we're going to go. If you're going to go low, I'm going to go high. You're going to go inside, I'm going to go outside, whatever it may be. You've got to be clear on it. So when you see defenders, and especially in the secondary, do this, and this is a safety that, or this is a defensive back that just came down from safety to come in here, they all need to know their role and responsibility and watch how they don't get tied up down there as I let it play. Right? One guy goes inside. I got that guy. You got that guy. We're going to spread out and give each other enough space that when the quarterback gets to the top of his drop and the ball's coming out, we got tight coverage, tight coverage, tight coverage. He's coming down here. He's coming down here. Like everything is good. It's nothing complex on the back half other than communicating and understanding and being prepared for what you're going to get. So it's a third down play. We're going to get the pass quick out to the tight end or hook route. I can't really tell what he's running there. Curl maybe. But the safety makes a play on it. And I wanted to point out as well, if you're wondering, like the multiple on the front here, we got 3 down linemen. We've got 2 outside linebackers circled in yellow there, a 3-4 look. So if you're wondering, could they run the same stuff? Yeah, I think the Bengals built a lot of their current defense while Al Golden was here under Lou Anarumo. So it would fit perfectly for what they do. And it's just everyone's leveraged. I want to point that out too as well, because if you go to the inside guys here, we're leveraged inside, but both of them are going to break with the receiver as if they're expecting these passes to be quick and to the outside. And that's a bad ball placement, but we're on them. You got to kind of separate what is a good play by the talent versus what's a good call, what's a sound call, what does it look like when they're all understanding what they're doing. And now we've got a corner blitz here from the outside. I wanted to point that out first, and everyone's going to rotate over just a little bit. What you see is this safety go this way, this safety go this way, and this corner dropped to this spot right here. So they're in a cover 3 situation, all understanding what they need to do as that safety or as that corner blitz came from this side here. Everybody just rotated very seamlessly. This is Caleb Williams at quarterback, by the way. This is from 2023. And as Caleb Williams gets to the top of his drop, he's instantly like, oh, that's not what I expected. Let me move up in this pocket, buy a little time, and see if I can get these guys coming across the field here. And you see number one, you've got a safety in the middle of the field. So when you have that, I can have outside leverage here. I can have outside leverage here. You feel good because you have help on the middle of the field. And while I pointed these out with these arrows here, if you see a little bit of gap in this, it's because this guy's staring inside. Like, go ahead and throw that. You want to throw that post? I'm on it. The safety's right there. So knowing your defensive help is clear with these guys. And again, we need to pass off here. We need to jump on these guys that are kind of going off script here and creating a little bit of chaos. Can you fight through it without running into your guy or the receivers? Watch Zero here as he comes across and makes a play on the ball. Knowing where the quarterback, so we're flushing the quarterback again. I talked about this with Graham. You'll see this a lot with Golden as well. Can we move the quarterback from his spot, number one? And number two, when he moves, where is he going to go with the ball? If we know these things, we can play faster than the other team. So watch Zero as he's here, he's inside, guys coming inside, but now the quarterback's on the move. So I don't have to worry about this guy as much going this way, although it's Caleb Williams. He might plant his feet and launch it over your head, but the risk is worth the reward here. If I can fight through and make sure I don't get hit and cut this guy that's 15 coming across, which is clearly where Caleb Williams is trying to go with this by moving this way, watch Zero fight through it, get in the right position, make an interception. This is a big play. I actually grabbed the TV copy as well because this angle really, I think, sells it from Caleb Williams' perspective as he's stepping up. His eyes are there the whole time. So if you're worried about the guy leaking out to the right, it wasn't going to happen. Caleb is, as he's moving up and moving to the left, he's going this way. We've moved him from what was probably supposed to be a spot here all the way to here, which now we can go make a play as a defense. And, it's a big play in the red zone. Speaking of TV copies, I got a clip here from the Georgia game not too long ago where run defense, we should bring in run defense a little bit. I didn't really have too many plays with Graham showing that, but they weren't attacking downhill run defense. Same with Al Golden. We've got guys on the line of scrimmage. It's a short yardage, and we are going to send these linebackers. You're going to attack the line of scrimmage. And man, did you see this defensive back coming from the outside? I think it's a defensive back. Mike Hilton-esque although that guy looks bigger than that. It might be a linebacker, but knocking the ball out there. We are just crashing the line. We're attacking. We're sending more guys than they can block. More communication here as watch 20 saying, okay, we got motion again, right? We showed this originally. We showed this with the Raiders too. We're bringing guy in motion. Everyone's got to adjust. You talk to him. He talks to him. He talks to him. Everyone's got to play their role. As long as you know what everyone's supposed to do, everyone can adjust. You see the linebackers shifting down, which brings 20 into the box. 20 comes down to defend the run, and so does the nickel or safety. I can't tell who it is. But as we flip it around, tell me this isn't Mike Hilton right here on the left side. If the Bengals decide to keep Mike Hilton, Hilton was there when Golden was there. That might be a benefit to keeping a guy that's familiar with some of your defensive players. All right, watch the safety again here as we've got motion at the snap. So again, rules. Do you know the rules? Does everybody know what they're supposed to do when this happens? You see communication. Watch this guy right here. Similar situation. We're going to bring this safety down and comfortably bring the other guy to his safety spot. So as the quarterback, he's got his head down for the play action. He looks up and he thinks, okay, still got the safety here. I must have this check down easy, because we got this another situation with leverage. We got a free safety in the middle of the field. Both these guys are playing leverage to the outside because they know they've got help inside. So if you want to throw any of these two routes, we're completely covered inside and outside. So the quarterback's going to turn, set his feet, and go to the check down, which is where that safety was, that free safety originally. He's in position to come make this and stop this for a negative play. He misses the tackle, but everyone's rallying and getting there because if you look at the D line, as soon as the quarterback goes to throw it, it's like they know as a whole team unit, defense, linebacker, safety, everyone's moving already on that. Like, all right, that should be check down. Bang, bang, bang. That should be check down. Let's start moving to the check down. Again, we've got motion. We've got communication. Everyone's pointing. We're shifting. We're moving to where we need to be at the snap. What do we have again? Tight coverage again. I mean, all across the board. Tight with a bracket, double. Tight here. They're going to make you make a difficult throw. It's not, and there's no one just simply running free because the defense couldn't communicate or didn't know the rules or assignments. Everyone is doing their job. Let's make it tight. Let's put some pressure now on the quarterback, move him from his spot, and let's see if they can move the quarterback a little bit here with the D-line. As the quarterback looks up, everyone's covered. All right, I'm going to run with it, collapse on him, force this to be nothing against Texas A&M now. Again, can we pass these off? We got switch routes, switch releases, right? Again, it's no problem. We're going to bring the one receiver this way, bring the other receiver this way. Anytime you cross like that, you run the chance of tying up your DBs and really ending up with a free guy wide open because we're not sure of where you're going. I'm not sure of where I'm going. But Notre Dame doesn't have that. They're clear and concise on what they're supposed to do. Allows the DB to undercut this route, knowing like, all right, if you're trying to do a switch release on us, this ball is probably going to come out and leverage wise, I should be far back. You're going to have an easy inside, whether it's a slant or a post or an in route. And instead, that DB is able to jump right on it, knowing how he's being attacked. I circled this guy at both ends here. One guy's got his hand down, one guy's standing up at a 2-point stance. Again, that fits the Bengals. They like to do that with Trey Hendrickson and get him in a 2-point stance. Gives you that freedom. Some defensive coordinators are very strict with that stuff. Al Golden does not appear to be that way. Watch it also as the quarterback steps up here. This is one of our few plays where we're not going to flush him left, right, or back into the pocket, but we're definitely going to make him double pump and hold this because he thinks it should be open. And I think he just throws it no matter what, even though the DB is undercutting it. Watch how he's kind of hesitant here and then steps into his lineman. So good team defense, communication, knowing what you're supposed to be doing and making a play and executing. That's all we're asking for. So Notre Dame may have the top defense in the country in college football this year. They're top 10 in everything, which is good because there's 140 something schools, right? But well coached. You can see they communicate very well. They switch things very well. They play sticky man coverage. They play a lot of man, and they blitz about 35% of the time, which is a good rate. But what that does is put pressure on the quarterback and allows your secondary to expect the ball to be out quick and make a play on it. I think he's the favorite. I think one of the interesting things is that the Bengals kept Ronnie Regulia, who was a defensive assistant last year, as one of the few defensive coaches they kept, who also was an assistant for Notre Dame in 2022 and 2023. So is that a sign that Al Golden wants him on the staff? We'll see. But I think we're looking at a guy who gets the best out of his defense. And I think the coaching is in the details here. And don't take it from me. If you're not on Twitter, if you're not on X, I pulled this clip from Dan Orlovsky of ESPN, who broke it down really, really well. And a lot of things I was saying, I found this and was like, you know what? I'd rather be backed up by Dan O on some of the things I was watching and just give it to you guys. So this will play at the end here. This has been Bengals on the Brain, episode 139, presented by First Star Logistics. And maybe by the time we watch this, we have an announcement. I don't think so, but it'll probably be next week. And if it is Al Golden, it'll be next week. So take us out, Dan Orlovsky. Until next time, guys. Ude.
So this is what it looks like when you have the best defensive coordinator in college football, the most prepared defense in college football. So the Aller interception, there are so many elements of this by Notre Dame defensively that are one, outstanding plan, and then two, remarkable execution by a group of 18 to 22-year-olds. Okay, so let's start here. Ball on the left hash, and Warren, the guy who had basically every play for Penn State in the air last night that was big, he's into the boundary. So you're going to see Notre Dame show a shell coverage at the snap, meaning looks like an umbrella, right? And then as that ball gets snapped, they're going to spin to a one-high middle field closed defense. Safety goes back, safety drops down. But here's the most important part of the drop down safety. He's an extra body, okay? He's what we call a robber or cut defender. He's playing with vision on the quarterback. Wherever quarterback is looking or wants to throw, that's his role. Now, as a defensive back, you'd have to know that you got help, right? Like there's an extra body here, so you want to protect against that. So what I love is the corner up top is playing outside leverage. He's forcing that receiver inside to the help. And then Ryan Clark's son, Jordan Straps, he's playing outside leverage of the slot, forcing this receiver to his help. So as a quarterback, you sit there and go, well, no one has even anything remotely close to leverage, and he's got Warren, and that's a flat route, all right? The other part that I think is unbelievable about this is look at Gray at the bottom of the screen, okay? He's got the whole field to cover. Look at his leverage, and as that receiver widens, watch the receiver at the bottom of the screen widen, he just stays inside. You want to throw an outbreaker? Look at him sit right on that route with vision. That's coaching. That's a young man that's prepared, and that's a young man that's executing his job on the play. You give up anything outbreaking, and you sit inside and force that impossible throw. Now, Aller throws that ball early because of the pressure, and it gets picked. I also think the pressure is incredible. It's a three-man front, but look at these two backers here, right? Like these two backers, one has the back, and as the back slips that way, that backer takes him, and the other backer, you're a trigger rush guy. And look at the little hezzy that he puts on the guard. I mean, listen, this is elite defense. From a quarterback perspective, this is unbelievable. Look at them. Watch these two cats, right? Back slips out, you take them, and look at the okey doke that backer puts on the guard. Now, I don't love that Aller drifts off the hash here, and he'll have to get better at that. But just from my vantage point, I'd love him to not throw an interception, all that. This is incredible detail when it comes to defensive performance.
Dave Lapham here, and every day I am grateful for my experience to have played professional football. As a player, I realized self-motivation, leadership, and appreciating your teammates are key. At First Star Logistics, you can use those same attributes to create the life you want for you and your family. Build your future by working hard like I did. You'll see results both on and off the field. Call First Star Logistics today and be part of our winning team.
Opportunity knocking.